Okay, we'll complete some of the discussion we've been having with Calculate GPA. I want to look at testing and also finally where is it? A student register student only if all prereqs are taken. So what I thought is let's complete our sort of the individual logic exploration. And next class, the first thing we'll do Tuesday, well after I'm going to have you submit this functionality include it onto your project, submit it on FileLocker, so that you would have gone through, let's see, at least a sequence of functionalities or use cases, user stories, search courses, register for a course, and then including all of these different conditions. And once you have this and each of you have it working, then you basically change your mindset to start working on the group project. So so for Tuesday, we'll discuss a little bit to make sure that you have it understood and functioning. And the second is we'll switch to using team services as well as start working with a common repository. But the first thing is I've opened up 3 of the projects. This is Stella, Preston, and Mike. So by now, all of you have Calculate GPA finished. Yes, no? Many of you said you were. I was looking at running the tests. Stella is the only one who has, Preston claims to have one, but I was trying to figure out the logic of this test and what is...
So what I did was I made a test called logic test.
Okay.
Where I just copied my code that in my update GPA method and put it into the test method. So all the logic's the same, it's just not going to the database. So I don't have to call the method and test it that way. I just did this quickly so I could actually make sure that my logic was working instead of going through and doing the test into the database and all that. I'm still writing the test into the database.
Okay. So ultimately you do want it because that's the method that is actually doing the work.
Yeah, I tested it in my UI without writing the test. It works in the UI, so I just have to write the test that actually does it.
Well, yeah, but I would like to see what like Stella has done, which is this is I think this was the only one I saw among all the students that I looked at, and so unfortunately the test doesn't run. It throws an error because it says the context has changed. So did you update it? Okay. So that's interesting. So once this is, but then I can't run it through this. So that's a little bit problematic because if the student keeps working on it, which is to be expected, then if I have an older version of it, it seems to cause problems. So, which means at some point I'll have to have you post everything on team services so that I get the latest version. How many others have done a test like this? So, is it only Josh then?
I've been working on my test.
Okay.
my tests are kind of all, because I've been trying different things, so like I have to go through and rewrite all my tests because some of the DB contacts are in the actual model, which are using the connection string for the web app, the web config, whereas it needs to go to the test database, so it's not going to the right database. So I have to reconfigure all of my tests to work properly.
Yeah, so one of the things that Mike brings up is that's one of our objectives as we move forward would be to put as many of the methods into our model. That way we don't have to go through the web app. We can do most of our testing through the model and the test project.
So some of the older methods like search for course and whatnot, we put the application or the DB context in the actual method. So the method is going to the database, and I need to pull that out and just have it a method that takes in parameters so that you can do the DB context in the actual controller, and then the test method would call, you can do a DB context in the test method, and it's like using the controller.
Okay, so even this,
You have mine? Oh.
Yeah, we do.
I can show you what I'm talking about.
Okay, but this version you have it, and
so if you go to models, and then course offerings. So if you look down at the method, see it's doing the DB context, where it's going. It's in here where it should actually be in the controller. So what it's doing is it's using the web config as opposed to being able to use the test configuration. So it's not getting the right numbers because it's not going to the right database.
Okay.
So I need to move that stuff to the controller and then hand off those objects to the method
to do
to do the actual manipulation. And then that way in the test method I can create another DB context and in the test, and when I do that in the test method, it'll use the test connection string and go to the test database.
I think this, let me see, I do have my test set up.
That way you can test the actual model's method, but use the right database.
Okay, so we have the search course expected where I get Okay, so this is going search course offerings is going through my course offering model. So let's see.
Yeah, you have the database context, and that is using the web config then to actually pull that information, so you're not using the right database and so on.
Okay, so with this.
Between all the numbers and the data. It should never be in a method. Because you've sewn yourself into that database. There's probably a way to pass numbers to it, but I have to figure that out.
That's well, it's interesting. So so you're saying that these tests are passing because there's no change in the
data between your test and your DAPS database is
okay.
the same.
Okay.
I believe that's what I was looking at this morning. So.
Well, let me explore that a little more and see whether that's the thing that's happening. If it is, then we'll have to change our the design of our methods to, because I was thinking that it might redirect it based off of how we.
It's the same issue that I was running into, which is why I just for time sake I pulled my logic out of my computing method, which is a test logic, why I test the actual functionality. I'm still researching on how to contact the controller on the test class.
Yeah, so which means that these methods in the model are always going to the development database, not the test database.
Well, it depends on where they're called. So if you call a static method from the step class, it'll react to the test database with the connection for the test project. So it's the database that it calls to is from the project default database to the project that you're ready. So calling from the test project is going to react to the test database. Calling it from the normal project is going to react to the active database.
So what you're saying is when I'm running the test, in the test I'm calling it, so in the test database, well, in the test, so if I go into this,
if the DB context is in the test project, but when it's in the app project, its connection string is the dev database, and that's where the problem is.
Yes, if you call the controller, which lives in the actual project, that DB context is reacting to the default connection.
well, but we're not calling the controller in.
Even the models, I think it's a precedent, because it's the method of that model. It's inside the app, which is going to use the app's connection string.
Well,
So you have to pull it out and put it in the controller.
well, the simple test is I'll try to do something. I'll add something into my demo and into this into the development database and see if it still continues to work. Okay, so let's insert a new value into this. Okay, what I'm trying to test is whether it's going to the, because the model is basically calling, it needs to access the database, and whether it is going, here I'm looking at the course class.
Actually, if you just put a breakpoint on where it calls to the DB context, you can look and see where it's going. It'll just tell you at web app models.
Okay, database is testing. Okay, thanks for, yeah, well, I guess, anyway, so it is actually going to the test database. So when we are, so the connection string is being passed through, I guess, the testing project. Okay, but is the entire issue what we were discussing clear? So we are able to, in the model, connect then to the database, do our processing. Otherwise, we would have to design it entirely differently. So the connection would be going through the controller and not through the model at all. But if we are actually accessing here, the connection string is to the database testing. Okay, so just to confirm it, if I did add this in, is it course offerings but on testing? So if I had something between Tuesday, Thursday, what am I testing here? Between, let's start before 9:30. So let's see, I'll just say. Okay, so I have an extra instance here, which means that this test would fail if it was running off of the development database. So anyways, so all this discussion we could have done without having the discussion, I guess. But at least it clarified that it is going to the test database. The one thing I have to do, obviously, based on what happened with Stella's project, is I need to have you set up your projects. So does each one of you have an account on Team Services? Okay, so next Tuesday, well, before next Tuesday, what I would like for you to try is to start posting your SRS project there on Team Services individually, and then add me as a team member so I can access it. We'll discuss more of that next class where you the first about 30 minutes I'll just set it to where you can start communicating on Visual Studio Team Services for a project. That's one piece that I wanted to address, but within that there are a few other concepts. There are, I think, 3 different pieces. I want to show you what Stella did, compare it a little bit to what Preston did, and then what Mike did. So they took slightly different approaches. Well, the one difference between Stella, Wation, and Preston is there's only one thing that I think a couple of different things. Let me just show you. Stella's is closest to what I was doing. So basically getting in a list of course objects, this course registration objects that this particular student has taken. Again, going back to the big picture, let me start with the class diagram. Starting with the student, get all the course registrations. This gives the letter grade with the grade points, but we need the course credits for quality points, so we go through this path. So going to Stella's version, she is reading from the database and then going through the loop for each of the courses the student has taken, finding the course credits, calculating the quality points and then calculating the GPA, which is the approach that I was taking. But this has one potential problem, which Preston has addressed. How many of you accounted for that? You probably will encounter it somewhere here if you didn't account for it. And I think it came out with you couldn't calculate Madeline's GPA for that reason. What's that? Which place is it?
Right after grade points, so your grade points dot get value as default, and that fixes it, because then it will.
To here? Grade points dot?
Get value as default.
Okay, so right here, so what does this, so what does this address? What's the problem and what is it addressing?
Instead of getting more value, it will get zero.
Yeah, okay, so the problem here was the null value. If you have a null value and you try to do any math operation on it, it's going to fail. So I didn't know that this method, but there are other options. Yeah.
The only problem with that is the null values are courses you haven't completed yet. If you put a 0 in there, you're basically calculating a 0 grade for somebody that hasn't completed a course. So you're
So it puts 0 for a null value?
Is that what it's doing? It puts a 0 in place of every one. We haven't, so you've got 452 right now.
It will just add a zero to the top.
It's for the quality point? Or to the, well, because now you're putting a 0 and you're multiplying it by the credit.
And it will add a zero to the top.
What Preston did in contrast, let me show that, which is I think a little more efficient. What he did is he just put in the condition to check for a null value, and so that removes that option. Even you don't have to check. The other thing he did, which I think is the better option, is if you look at this, and this is the design I did as well, so mine is less efficient too. So what I was doing and what Stella is doing is going through all, so if you've taken 50 courses as a student, you are now going into each one of those 50, and then what are we doing here? We are going to the database, and that's an expensive operation, not just querying, but we are opening up potentially a connection, coming back. So we don't want to do it 50 times, and what Preston did here, but this also has its own problems, and that you're going once to the database, but you brought in the entire set of maybe several thousand courses in. So the better option would be if we could do a second include, and Mike was saying if we use lambda expressions, you can have multiple includes.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
So you did it there? Okay, let me see that.
That was in course offering folder, I believe.
In the control.
And the notation for it. Yeah, see, include, see, lambda, include.
Okay, so let me see if this, oops.
Yeah. You can't can change the
Okay, I'll just call the student course registrations. So for this, if I was trying to do this equivalent here, it would be database dot. Okay, I'll need to change this to something else. I'll just call it all registrations. So start with database dot course registrations dot include so this is where it seems to fail. It seems to work in the controller, but not here. So if we could get this, it would make it significantly more cleaner, but for some reason, yeah, Preston?
I built mine a little bit differently just now to try to avoid the issues you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, and it requires more database entry, but if you use where you're calling the courses into the for loop, the course registration, and the where clause there, then it only puts the courses related to you, but it's going to put the courses when we have course registration. So,
Well, the issue is if is this option feasible? Is what I'm exploring. If we use the lambda expression here, where is my okay? And I'm not sure it is, and I'm not clear as to why it's not feasible. If it works in the controller, I don't know why it doesn't work here. But anyway, so if you don't have this option, you have to, if you keep going to the database, it's not as clean. But what let's see, what James did was, what Mike did, confusing things. But what he did was cleaner. But he did, let me show you what he did, and that's the least amount of database access, but he passes everything at, well, a lot of it as parameters. So let's see, which one is the student registration, and then the student okay, so he's using all of these as parameters, and he changed the model a little bit so that he's having a property called quality points, and so he does this. And I'll show you the controller, and in the controller he basically, here is the update operation. Okay. So right here, so he gets a course, so he uses the course ID to get one course object. He uses the student ID to get one student object, and then the student registration object, he then uses the method to update. So So he basically has all of it. The controller gets the data from the database, pass it to the method here, and so there's no database access in this method itself. And obviously that makes it, we were testing using some breakpoints, and the most expensive operation of the entire database process seems to be the opening and closing, not so much the actual processing. So if you have 50 different times where we are going back and forth, it's going to take significantly longer. And if you want to test it, you can put these breakpoints before and after, and as you run it, so let me use Preston's, well, Stella's, I guess, and because there are multiple. So I'll just put quick breakpoints here. This will give you a sense of there is calculate student GPA. This is going to fail because I'll have to run it from the UI, which will be longer. But you can do this test for yourself to see. It will give a, let me see if I can do it. I just want you to get a sense of this. Do this. Okay, this is what method is this search portion. Okay. When you debug something, it will actually give you how long each segment of the, if you put breakpoints, it tells you how long it takes between each of the breakpoints. So that's the reason I'm trying to run this in debug mode. Let's see. Is it go to? Where is my?
Is it watch at the bottom there?
Okay, let's see. It has a lot of the stuff which I probably should. There's just a window that it keeps indicating the timing, and I'm not sure where that window is now. Where is that? When we were running it last time, it just showed up, so I don't know where this is on now. Yeah, well, if you find it, let me know, but you can see the time, and I wanted you to see there is a significant difference between going to the database and not. Unfortunately, I'm not able to find it here. Okay. The next thing that I want to show you, other than this processing part, is to get to the prerequisites. Has anyone started working on prerequisites? Yeah.
I didn't start working on prerequisites, but before you move on,
Yeah.
I think I found a way to do it where you only enter the database twice, and it pulls all of the courses that are only related to your course registration.
Okay.
So, in mind, right after the search result, where you get all your course registrations, I made a new list that captures the IDs. So what it's going to do is it's going to go through that search result list and pull the IDs from each course and save them to the list. And then when it calls the courses down below that in the database, there's a where clause that says this list, if this list contains the course ID, pull that from the database.
Okay, so
And I set it up for it.
so you're saying you included a where here? Okay.
Yeah, but you don't have the list that contains the where clause yet.
Okay, so where is that list coming from? Is it here? You can just tell me, that's fine.
Well, you have to create the list underneath the search result, yeah. So right there.
Yeah, so, but is that another access to the database?
No. It's just a list of things.
Oh, so from this search result, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh no, you just make a new list.
A new list? Okay.
Just do a for each list.
So you want to pull out from inside this? Okay. So you're saying it avoids bringing in as much from the database.
We're bringing in every single course from the database.
Okay.
So for each course registration, insert result. We're going to do course ID dot add, course registration dot course offering, just course offering and then dot course ID. So I think the course offering is lower.
Okay, and then you're saying where,
Then do the where with the parentheses, C max to course ID. So you don't want to do C dot course ID there. So here's where it gets a little confusing, because normally what we do in the map, we start with the object in the database, but instead we're going to do course IDs.
where is course IDs? This one here?
That we just made.
Okay. So where course IDs?
Document name. Parentheses, D dot, course ID.
Okay, so you're now using this.
Yeah, you can take
Okay.
that two courses out. And before each loop, we're going to take the courses out of there, and we're going to change the course to, yeah, so like that. And take the two courses out of there.
So we don't even need this here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you want to explore this, you can do so. But again, I go back to this. If we can find the lambda expression to do multiple includes, it's good.
I think all you have to do is do course offering dot course, like within those quotations.
From here,
Yeah, and I checked that on my work.
what's that?
So within that first dot include,
Yeah.
and do course offering dot course. So within those quotations.
Within,
Yeah, you don't need another include, you just do course offering dot course.
dot,
Within the first, within those quotations.
within the quotation like this, okay.
And that works.
Okay, so if this works, then we wouldn't have to do anything else.
I think it's using, using the model properly.
Okay. Okay, so let me check that. How do I check it here? Let me,
Yeah, it won't pass on that version because I've updated it.
okay. So if I go back to what we were discussing in class, so this brings back, so in the big picture context, this is yours. So let me go here. Okay, what Stella is telling us, which will be much easier compared to what Preston pointed out, is if we can do this, it will bring the associated course IDs as well. And if we do that, what can we avoid here? Okay, so I'll use the logic from, so okay, so you have to declare all these variables to hold the values. Okay, so you have the local variables, GPA, total quality points, total credits, and then inside you needed to have database courses find each course registration. So now if we course registration, okay. So if you have the course information available here, the one thing we wouldn't have to do is go to the database each time, right? So that gets reduced. And where do we get the credits from? So the course, instead of going to the database, we can get it from it should come from here, right? So can I just say course? Okay, course offering dot, okay, dot course credits. Okay. Okay, so do you see this? It's going to be significantly more efficient. And then, of course, using the condition where this and CR dot so if I want to have two, so I want to also include CR dot grade points not equal to null. So does this become okay, this is one piece of the condition, this is the second. I need to combine these two together.
After the dot two list,
well, I think, so the where clause, so this is ending here, so which means I need another parentheses for that. So the lambda expression essentially is here, starts. Okay, so this takes care of the, so it's not now. Okay, so I guess this is probably the cleanest unless you change, like Mike did, change some of the underlying properties, but in this case we are only going to the database once, and at least one, if I can, next class I'll show you with the breakpoints. So this query itself will take a significantly lesser time, and since you don't have to open close databases after this, it's going to be fine. Okay, so essentially then this takes care of it, what Stella pointed out. So how did you figure this out? Is there any documentation? Just experimented? Okay. Because it's one of the things that I know that in the controller, as Mike pointed out, you could have multiple includes with the lambda expression, but for some reason it's not allowed inside the model. Okay.
I think it's because of the where statement. I have no where statement.
Okay, but the lambda expression, the include is here without, so the include should be, so if you were using the lambda expression, it would have just been here. And it doesn't allow, like if you look at your controller, you'll see that the include with two lambda expressions.
Right, but I think it's because my statement doesn't have a where statement at the end of it.
No, no, but I'm just saying it's not relevant. So if you went to your controller here, over here, whether yeah, but I'm saying that it's not relevant. So if you put it in, it will still not work inside of the model. The other piece is for the so if you got this working, try to make these changes to make it more efficient, explore it. But the other piece is really the one that I want you to work on for before next class to post on FileLocker is the is checking if all prerequisites are taken. And for that, what do you need to do? The first piece is the unary association, right? So it's a many-to-many unary. So how do you set that up, a many-to-many unary association? What do we need to do? Let me go down.
Is that where you create a property within the class named itself and you call it?
A property within the course class itself? Okay, so if we name a property within the course class, so let's go to course. So what would you name here?
Either that or you're using the ID. You're going to use the key. Call it.
So if it's a many-to-many association, so each course could have multiple prerequisites. So one option would be to say, well, just put another public list of what? Course, okay. And call this prerequisites. So this would be the list of prerequisite courses. So, but this would imply that each time we create a course, we start associating a list of prerequisite courses, and each time if you have something like this, what else do you need to do? Each time you have a list associated with an object of a class. If you don't do something, it will end up giving you errors. What's that? Yeah.
You need to put it down underneath this, not post offerings.
Yeah, when you create the object, you would have to create, add the same list of prerequisites. You'll have to make sure that it's a new list. So this is one approach that you could use. What else could you do? Did we have any other many-to-many association represented in our model? Is there anything that's many-to-many? The course registrations or student registrations, which have their own, in this case, so this is the only other many-to-many that's there? Okay. So what did we do in that case? It became its own class. So you could, so the second option is for you to create a separate class, and we'll call this like a prerequisites, or I'll just say course prerequisite. And what would it contain if we created a separate class? Okay. Public int course prerequisite ID get set. So this is going to be the key. And what else will it have? Okay. Public. So this would be int. So yeah, okay. So I can call it course get set. Is that, what else would I need?
Public course prereq. And then those are going to be indexed.
Okay. So, so in addition to it, if you remember, or if you go to course registration, this is going to be the same approach. That is, we need not only the connection to the two, but we also need to set up the foreign keys. Right? Charles, what do you do?
Course ID.
Okay. Public int course ID get set. Public int prereq ID get set. Okay, so these are two foreign keys, and whenever this is the navigation in the object-oriented world, and what would we have to specify? What did we do here? Each time we do something like this, we explicitly state what are going to be our foreign keys. Okay, so I have my two foreign keys, and what else? Somebody other than Mike, because he's the one who suggested it to us. What else do you need to ensure? What was the issue that we had to deal with course registration? I'm going to go with somebody over at the pardon? In index, okay, the index is for what purpose? Pardon? Can you speak up a little bit?
I think you need it for change.
What is the potential concern here? The ID right now, Jason, what's happening with the ID?
It's creating a new one, and you need a new one.
This is going to be the key that we have is what? We've specified it, but it's a totally made up key, and it's going to get auto-generated, right? So each time we say create a new course prerequisite, it'll just keep on generating IDs. Now, what's the problem with that? Yeah.
You need to do where you combine the two foreign keys to make
Yeah, these two, and I think that's what Kevin was trying to suggest is, well, the ultimate, what we don't want happening is these two values shouldn't get repeated. So if MISC 450 is the prerequisite for MISC 452, you don't want to keep repeating it 15 different times. So if you entered it once, the second time it shouldn't. So for that we had created these indexes. So this is like an alternate key concept. So you can say index, and what's a meaningful name for this index? Okay. Course prereq index, and then the parameters. How do you specify the parameters? It's all inside the parentheses. So we want it to be order. Is it 0 based or is it 1, 2? Okay, 1, 2. So okay, that's the first one, and we want it to be unique. True. And whenever we want it to be an alternate key, we want to create that same index on the second property, primary key index. Order 2 is unique, is true. Okay, so this sets it up, if you are setting it up as an entirely separate class, you can obviously, if we set it up as an entirely separate class, then you'll have to change what we did over here will change from list of prerequisite objects of the course class. What will happen? This will be a list of course prerequisite, so which associate with that particular class. And I've experimented a little bit with both approaches, but what I would like for you to figure out is which do you think works better to find out prerequisite object. Well, to implement this, well, ultimately, what are we trying to implement? We want to check to see if if the student has taken all the prerequisites for the course he or she wants to register for. So you have to figure out which one gives you an easier way of figuring it out. So if they say that I want to register for, let's say, they want to register for a particular offering of MIST 452. Okay, so what happens here? So they want to register for MIST 452, and when they are registering, it will be for a particular course offering ID. So we need to get the course number, and what do we need to do? What are the steps? Yeah.
Find all the prerequisites for that course.
Okay.
And find all the prerequisites for the courses that course listed, and so on. So for recursion.
Okay. So we need to get. So for this. Find all the course numbers for that course, and as Mike pointed out, find all the prereq course numbers for that course, find all the prereq numbers of the prereq courses. So this obviously keeps going down until you run out of all. And this, and we discussed it sometime last semester. For this, you have to explore using recursion and see. So that's there is no other clean way of going down all the levels, because if you use a loop, you have to specify how many times you want to go through the loop, and you wouldn't know it because you don't know how many levels it potentially goes down. So that's one piece. So this gives you the list of all prereq courses, and you can just go with numbers, not necessarily the entire course object. You have to explore which one is easier, but numbers potentially will be easier for the interested course. Okay. Now, once you get all this, are you done? What do you need to do? Okay, compare this list of prereq courses with courses student has completed. Okay. So based off of this comparison, so if you said check for this, so you can do it as in different ways, but if you did a check, so if you said list of prereq courses that are in this, because which is going to be the bigger list? Is the first list or the second list? Which is a subset of which? Or which is the, yeah.
The first list is going to be bigger.
This first list will be bigger compared to the second?
Because the first list is going to be all prereq courses, and the second is going to be only prereq courses for the courses students.
This is the list of the courses that the student has completed. So, so the issue is we can either if we ask this question, well, actually I should take the prereq out, because how do we know whether it's a prereq course that the student has taken? We know the list of all courses the student has taken. Here we have a list of all prereqs for this particular course. So we need to compare the student's course list with the prereq course list. So this is going to be your larger list, and this, well, unless the student has not taken any courses. And this is most likely, most cases, the smaller list. So compare the two lists, and then when would you allow the student to take the course? When has the student met all the prereqs? Yeah.
If every course in the prereqs course has been taken by the student, so there has to be at least one, prereq taken by the student. Does that make sense?
Well, when you compare these two, the result should be what? For you to allow the student to take.
The student has at least taken each of the prereqs once.
Yeah, if you do a comparison as a set operation, and you look at, so if you compare these two sets, and usually you look at whether the smaller set fits inside the larger set or not. So if this results in an empty set, what does that mean? So if you compare the small and look at it inside a larger, and it comes out as an empty set, so what does it mean? It means, so you're looking inside, and when you compare the two, basically you're taking out anything that doesn't fit in the larger set. So it's almost like when we say compare, it's how do I put it? So I'll say prereq set, or let's see, taken. You can do it either way, I think. So prereq set, let me just say subtract. Okay. Okay. Dot contains, okay, student set. So if this comes out as being
that would mean the prereq set would have everything that's in the student set.
Okay. So if it contains everything, it means that there is nothing that gets left out. So an empty set in this case, something that's empty would be actually a positive result. So it either means that there are no prereqs, or the student has taken all the prereqs. If, on the other hand, it comes up with something like missed 450, it means that the student who's trying to register for 452 has not taken 450. So this logic is not that simple. You'll have to think through it, but I think that's one of the things I want you to learn to do. And you'll also have to enter in some sample data to first populate this. And my suspicion, and what I've experimented is, I think it will be easier having a separate class to do this rather than just set this up as prerequisites. But you can experiment a little bit of both, but this is likely to be the easier or the option that works. And if you go with this option, you'll have to create, obviously, change the migration. You'll have to add a new migration, get some new sample data in, but this sample data has to connect to what? The courses that are already there. Okay, so you'll have to get that population of the data, and then you'll have to see whether at least the student, there should be some student who has taken all the prereqs and some who have not, to be able to test whether this works.
How will this check to see if the course is completed? So, like, if they have a course registration, that still counts as them have taken the class?
Well, this is where I think if we say, let's see, where is my thing?
You want to check the quality points. If they have quality
Well,
points.
I think if we say taken, and this is where the semantics matter, I think. So do we say are currently registered or are they completed? So I think for our purposes we'll say completed, and for completed it should be that there has to be a letter grade on it. So that's the simplest way. So if they're currently taking, it means that it has a null value on it. So what that would mean is, if, for example, if they register for 450 and then they immediately after register for 452, if you allow null values, that is, they're currently registered to take it, but you're considering as though they've already taken it. So if we force it to have a letter grade, then it will prevent them. But of course, in the real world scenario, there are some students who are taking 450 now, and they wouldn't have completed it, but they still need to register for 452. Yeah.
Instead of checking on the letter grade, though, I would check on the quality point, because you could get an S, and that's not going to be a null value because you didn't have that prerequisite. So if your quality points are greater than 0, then you've actually earned that credit. And
But we, in the model we didn't include quality points. So
We accomplish the same thing by just using the letter grade.
yeah.
If it's not that.
Yeah, we could check if it's not. So
grade points would work as well.
yeah, we could look at this letter grade as one not being null and not being an F. So we could do those two things.
That's harder to check strings than it is to check.
Grade points? Yeah, you can do the grade points check too. Okay. So that's what I'll give us your task to work on for Tuesday before you come to class. And again, even if you don't get it fully functioning, I want you to get as far as you can and post the solution, what you do, onto FileLocker. Also try setting up team services, and because if I need to be able to access the latest version, try setting it up on team services and adding me as a team member for this student registration system. Okay, I'll see you on Tuesday. If you have any questions, please let me know.
For some reason, when I try to add a sprint controller, it tells me that the application data, the models, it tells me to rebuild it, and I'll rebuild it, but I still can't add a sprint controller.
When you say add so right here you are trying to add a new controller using the entity framework, is it? Okay. I've seen this with some other students, and I'm trying to see if I can remember what caused it. So if you have done this a few times, it is just saying it's not able to add it, right?
It tells me to rebuild the solution.
So when you rebuild it, are you getting any errors?
No, it's easy.
Okay. And you said
it tells me like it would say like last name, SS, that, dot, models. Like it can't reach it's like the code is unreadable or something like that.
Okay. Is this the same project that you've been using for a while?
Yeah.
Have you previously been able to create
Controls, yeah.